This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to a Tuesday special edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante, and the Yankees greeted our week with a special announcement. Number 21, the Warrior, Paul O'Neill, is getting his number retired in the Bronx, August 21st this year. If the Yankees are there, if the season's happening, I'm going to be there. I'm sure you will be too. And of course, because there's no news this time of year, that announcement, instead of a bunch of congratulations, set off a torrent of people questioning the numbers and the impact and the history of Paul O'Neill. And so we're going to start there, because where else would we start? We're also going to talk about the latest updates on the lockout, which are actually somewhat promising, question mark, knock on all the wood ever produced by mankind and by nature. Also, Aaron Judge, if he does not stay a Yankee, where is he going? We'll do a little bit of a deeper dive there. And the Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson stuff that's floating around. You've heard us talk about it all offseason long, but now it seems realer than ever that Freeman's going to leave, and it's not just us saying that. Folks, make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Drop us a 5-star review along with the mailbag question. We will be more than happy to answer it. Drop us questions on Twitter. We're going live there and on YouTube, 2 o'clock Eastern time every Monday and Thursday, typically all off-season long. But on Tuesday today, because, you know, what are we doing on Monday? We're celebrating presidents. Obviously, we're not going live. None of you are. You're all enjoying you're all building shrines to your favorite president. Doing whatever you do during presidency. So obviously you didn't have time for the Yankees. We have time on Tuesday, though, so we're here. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the podcast. Paul O'Neill, number retired.
I love it. And to all the people out there who are questioning this, who are not Yankees fans, I just would like to know how you have not learned up until this point. You've seen enough mob movies. You've seen enough, crime thrillers, where enough people were telling you to mind your own goddamn business before it escalated into something else. This has nothing to do with you. I understand why it might seem a little bit excessive. The Yankees have a ton of numbers retired. I don't have them here off the top of my head. And then you probably, were weighing an A-Rod retirement at some point because of his value to the franchise, despite all the other things that have clouded his career. But hey, you're going to sit here and complain about somebody else's number being retired when it has nothing to do with you, and somebody else, some other franchise just has fewer numbers between 1 and 25 to wear. I don't know what to tell you. Paul O'Neill was, he nicknames the Warrior for a very good reason. He was my favorite Yankee for a time because I was an angsty young kid and I loved, throwing my bat up against the cage and kicking my helmet and all that type of shit. And when he would throw his helmet down the first baseline after grounding out or something like that, it got me going. I'm like, great, this guy's pissed. He doesn't want to fucking get out. He wants to keep it going. And now he's continuing his legacy as a Yankee in the booth. And whether or not you like it, he's been there for a good while. He provides great intrinsic value to the broadcast along with Michael Kay. And he has a long-standing legacy. You talked about, we were discussing earlier today, that nobody wears the number. Nobody has worn the LaTroy Hawkins wore it for a week, got booed by the fans. This is the greatest form of democracy we have here. The fans do not want to see anybody else wearing Paul O'Neill's number. They have made it clear. The Yankees have responded. I wish they would respond to some of our other overtures as fans, but maybe we have to wait for that. This is a good example of them doing so, and we can go through Paul O'Neill's stats that, might have fans questioning his I guess, stature of having the number retired, but it's well worthwhile. But I know you have a lot of feelings about Paul O'Neill. Before we dive into the numbers and actually make this an argument for all the haters, I want to know what you have to say.
Yeah, my favorite Yankee of all time. And it's not like, it has, for me, it wasn't that he inspired me to, act out or throw my stuff or hit a Gatorade cooler. I was never doing that. He didn't make me do that. He just inspired me to see somebody care that much. So there was somebody out there on my favorite team who was that passionate and could go that far beyond. And unlike you, it's not like it's not like I saw myself in him. It's that, I sort of lived out, it wasn't a fantasy I had. It was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that somebody cares this much. And if I care even half as much about anything that I do as the amount Paul O'Neill cares about a random August game in the middle of 1997, I think that, is helpful motivation. No, we're not endorsing anybody going overboard. We're just saying that it's good to have passion. You are, but it's good to have passion about your day job.
Yeah.
And Paul O'Neill was a participant in probably the single greatest honorific that any Yankee could ever hope to receive, or any athlete in any sport. When he was in the outfield, it was very clear his career was winding down in the middle of Game 5 of the 2001 World Series. The entire stadium chanted his name, Paul O'Neill, and did his role in the roll call. It echoed. It has enough of an effect when 200 weirdos are leading it in the bleachers. You magnify that times 20 or 30 and have 50,000 strong at the old stadium chanting Paul O'Neill. Most of our World Series memories, most of our Paul O'Neill memories are October related, because the Yankees were in the World Series every year: 96, 98, 99, 2000, and 2001. It's only natural. But I will remember Paul O'Neill getting cheered off the field in Game 5, just before the Yankees, by the way, tied it and won it. They were saying goodbye because they thought they were about to go down 3-2, go to Arizona and lose it. They did ultimately lose the series, and Paul O'Neill's final game was a horrific walk-off. But of course, after that, the magical moment did occur, and the Yankees did tie the game and win it late, spurred on perhaps by the crowd. Who knows? I don't know. But, for as much as we remember O'Neill for his on-field exploits, the walk that turned the 2000 World Series, for instance, he hit 470 during that World Series. He hit David Ortiz level. The Yankees didn't hit at all in 2001. By the way, that 2001 World Series Yankees team was like the 2021 Yankees. Nobody could hit. Regression across the board. You look at the average in that series, everybody's in the 100s. O'Neill in his final playoff series ever hit 333. So you remember him for the activity. You also remember him for the postseason moments, rolling over the pile in 96 with that fist pump hitting the ground. It's the iconic enduring image, especially if you want to forget John Wetland, which I do.
Yes.
In 99, he played in the World Series basically directly after the death of his father. And in 2001, of course, we sang from all corners of the stadium, thanking him for what he'd done. He came to New York in 1993 as a 30-year-old. I don't think a lot of people remember that. He's not somebody who was an established star who signed with the Yankees either. It was a shrewd trade. It was damaged asset for damaged asset. It was Roberto Kelly for O'Neill. O'Neill was thought to be, O'Neill was an all-star once in Cincinnati, but he was thought to sort of be, light power hitting out, 15 homer, 260 hitting outfielder, not valued as highly as he would have been in today's game because, we didn't have the OBP love that we had, Yeah. What we have now, O'Neill's a better Moneyball player than he is a non-Moneyball player. But again, O'Neill, the numbers were not really overwhelming until he hit 27, 28. As a younger man, he hit 16 bombs, 73 ribs, 252, 306 OBP in his age 25 season with Cincy, 15 homers, 74 ribs, 276 and a 346 OBP the next year, 270 and 339 the next year. 91, age 28, his all-star season, 28 bombs, 91 RBI, 256, 346, OPS plus of 127, and he's finally starting to look like himself. But then right back to 101 the next year. That's when they trade him. He goes to New York. His first season in New York, hits 311, 367. Still not necessarily the sabermetric darling. There's a lot left on the table. But the next year, 94, 359, 460, 1.064 OPS, 177 OPS plus in the season that never got completed. That was his first of 4 All-Star appearances with the Yankees. That was his first of 4 top 15 MVP finishes with the Yankees. And from that point forward, he basically epitomized, 20 to 25 homer power. Kind of unbelievable looking at the stats from the steroid era, knowing that he never got to that next level. He never had an outlier season. He never had a Brady Anderson year where he randomly hit 46 homers. I think that tells you all you need to know about O'Neill. A doubles hitter, the likes of which we don't really see in modern baseball. 35, 42, 40, 39 doubles from 96 to 99. He was a guy who got on base. He rarely struck out, under 100 times almost every season of his Yankees career. Struck out 103 times in 1998, but I won't hold it against him because that was 1998, and the team won, I believe, 385 games. But O'Neill was as good and consistent. He was like a leveled up Tony Gwynn with the Yankees. He made every play he had to in right field. You remember him in the 96 World Series too, on one leg, making that running catch in the gap on Luis Polonia's fly ball deep into the night in Atlanta to steal that 1-0 victory. I could talk all day about these bigger moments, but it's the little moments that stand out to me. It's being a kid, going to the game, watching him give 180% on any given day, and that effortless chop into the right field seats. I think I saw more Paul O'Neill home runs than anybody else hitting home runs back in the day. And it was just I don't know how that swing worked. He swung down on fastballs, found the porch, and launched them anywhere from that 350-foot laser to like a 430, 440-foot just absolute rip into the right field bleachers. A completely inexplicable swing. But again, whenever he hit the home run, what did he do? Head down, run to first. A beloved player. We can talk all we want about what it means to have a number retired and how many numbers the Yankees are running out of or whatever. But they didn't get, like you said, they did not give O'Neill's number out. LaTroy Hawkins got number 21 for 2 seconds and got booed ruthlessly until he gave it up. And if you're not going to do that, then you can argue the semantics all you want about what it means to have a plaque and what it means to have your number retired. And O'Neill already has a plaque. Why does he need this? And isn't this some cheap ploy from ownership to get people to remember the 90s? Sure, but I also think people should remember the 90s. And if you're not going to give O'Neill's number away, which you're not going to do, you've never done it, then what's the harm in retiring and giving Yankee fans the opportunity to celebrate somebody special? Now, we're going to have another day like today when the day comes to retire O'Neill's number, where Orioles fans and San Francisco Giants fans and Texas Rangers idiots crawl out of the woodwork to say, was Paul O'Neill really that good? What, should we retire Rusty Greer's number now? And the answer is fucking sure. But do you guys love Rusty Greer? Then fucking absolutely. You should also retire his number. Like, there's no limit on celebrating your own players, especially in a year when baseball has taken so much away from us. It's been so annoying to be a fan of baseball. I'd rather be pandered to and remember the good times with Paul O'Neill than not have something to look forward to. And that's where it stands for me.
Yeah, I agree. And there's intrinsic value beyond statistics. Players offer a different aspect and to what the fans love to see and what the fans love to hear. And Paul O'Neill was a leader in many ways. He was the guy that I always think in my head, like, how is he so reserved on these broadcasts? Because you watched him play, you understood how much the game meant to him, and we're kind of watching these. I don't want to call it the players, but like, it's kind of lackadaisical effort. You don't know what's going on. It doesn't seem like there's the necessary energy that is required to like get the Yankees out of these inexplicable slumps that they've been in over the last 2 years. And he doesn't go all, he needs the game, in my opinion, to like get revved up again and understand. And that's what he loved to do. And that's how that fire is brought out of him. But in my head, I'm like, how is this guy not looking at this team being like, what is going on? And he offered that and more, because look, this man played for the Yankees age 30 to age 38 seasons. And he didn't have, like you said, he didn't have a good career up until arriving in New York. So that second half of his career is absolutely incredible given the circumstances. And on top of that, I understand he was probably very much could have been a product of his environment. Yankees had very good hitters. He was protected in the lineup. But what happens if you don't produce and you're one of those guys protected in the lineup? You're regarded as a schmuck. You're regarded as an irreplaceable piece that the team should get rid of because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And Paul O'Neill did what he was supposed to do and more. And I would love to know, I don't know how to crunch numbers. I don't know how to do any of that. But if someone could do some sort of cross-reference here and let me know of players who have played in 85-plus postseason games and have hit 284 with an 828 OPS and won 4 World Series. I don't know there's many people like that. And I don't know if there will be many more people like that. So that's a big reason why the value here for him is beyond belief, because look at all that and consider all those numbers. And you're talking about someone who's elevated the game from his own standpoint based on the situation he was given. And it's hard to deny that. So look at the numbers, understand the value and what the fans appreciated from him. And it's a completely different story.
You're not allowed to tell me you want all the modern Yankees to play like Paul O'Neill, and then also you don't want to retire Paul O'Neill's number. Like, yeah. And we need a little nuance here. Like, I can understand saying this might be a stretch. I didn't expect this. My first reaction to look at it, I didn't even realize his number was being retired at first. I just saw that he was going to Monument Park, and my first reaction was he's already there. He already has a plaque. But
Yeah.
okay. I guess it's on the 21st because I legitimately thought we were just rehashing and like, let's have another day for Paul O'Neill. And I was like, okay, I mean, that doesn't make any sense, but I love him, so I'm not going to argue. And then I realized what was going on. I mean, it definitely took me aback. I was not ready for it, but any opportunity you have to celebrate a legend like this, I think you take it, you run with it. You don't have to buy the commemorative hat. Like, there has to be somewhere in between. You don't need to be the money grabbing fan. You need to look at this. You can look at it cynically if you want, but like, if you're excited about the Paul O'Neill number retirement, you don't need to be all in buying the program, buying the hat, getting front row tickets, and calling up all your closest friends to go tailgate Paul O'Neill Day. Like, you don't have to be all in. You don't have to be all out. You can just look at it and say, they're not going to give the number away anyway. And let's celebrate someone who embodies what it means to be a Yankee as far as we know. Us 90s kids are in a very strange place where we know him as a consummate Yankee. We did not know him as a Red. All I know, he world champion with the Reds, by the way. And world champion, kicked the baseball to first from right field, an iconic highlight that ended up on all the blooper reels when we were kids too. But we basically know him from that. Like, I know him as the guy who flamed out in Cincinnati and kicked the baseball to first base. And then also, just so happened to eventually be my favorite player of all time. It's also worth noting Paul O'Neill's first playoff series of all time, the 1990 NLCS,
dominated
with the Reds against the Pirates, hit 471 and 1-2. So 474 ending his playoff series high. That was the Subway Series. And get this, he didn't hit a home run in that series. He walked 3 times, OBP'd 545, no bombs, just 9 hits, 2 doubles, somehow 2 triples. I don't really know how that's possible.
I like it.
I like it. I do. And by the way, when I'm saying all this, you don't have to buy the merch. You don't have to buy the programs. You don't have to buy the commemorative hats. I'm going to do all that. Like, I'm going to buy the shit. Yeah. I'm going to buy all the shit. Like, I will do it. You don't have to. I will. I love this guy, and I can't wait to celebrate him. He's never getting in the Hall of Fame. We can have Hall of Fame discussions about Bernie Williams, and we should. He should be in. So should Kenny Lofton. Not biased, just accurate. You can have Hall of Fame conversations about David Cone. He should probably be in too. This also brought up some interesting discussions of, if the Yankees are doing this, obviously the level up is you get a monument. That happens posthumously. Mickey Mantle has one. DiMaggio has one. They haven't done one in a while. They're going to do that for Yogi Berra while his family is still here. They probably should. They're going to do that for Whitey Ford. I'm not sure if anyone else in Yankee history, until I don't even want to say, when Derek Jeter passes away in like 50 years, hopefully he will get one. But I don't think there's anybody in between who merits that, unless you want to do it for Yogi and Whitey, which you probably should. Whitey's family is, of course, extreme. Whitey passed away well over 90. The families are getting older there, so you got to act there too if you want to do something like that. But again, if you're a fan of another team and you want to have an argument, just tell me who your favorite player of all time is. And if it's your franchise's best player, then that's fantastic. Good for you. You have boring tastes. But if it's somebody more unique, like your Paul O'Neill, and someone told you they were going to honor that person with a number retirement, you'd probably be very excited. The Mets are doing it with Keith Hernandez. Paul O'Neill's a better baseball player than Keith Hernandez. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Another quick thing to kind of debunk why people should be opposed to this. Other people talking about this in opposition are like, oh, well, it's kind of taking the shine off the greats of Ruth, DiMaggio, and so-and-so. Yeah. Okay, great. A lot of those guys played pre-integration. A lot of those guys played postseasons where it was just you leapt to the World Series and that was your postseason. A lot of guys played when pitching was a lot different. When you were, if you want to talk through a pitching lens, you were pitching much more frequent than 5 days. You were throwing complete games with regularity. The physics behind pitching wasn't what it was today. The athleticism was not as elevated as it is today. So sure, in a sense, you could argue that it's taking the shine off what Babe Ruth did. Babe Ruth hit 614 home runs or whatever it was, and Joe DiMaggio had a 56 game hitting streak and all that. But there were other elements that allowed those guys to be as good as they were, and we're not taking anything away from them for playing under their circumstances. Paul O'Neill played during a portion of the steroid era and was a very good player. I tweeted the other day about Bernie Williams because I don't think it's fair that we're excluding players during the steroid era from the Hall of Fame and then not including the guys who succeeded and did it cleanly. If we're going to keep guys out because of what they did, why are we not letting guys in who managed to maybe, okay, cool, maybe they beat the system and didn't test positive? I don't know, but they didn't, and they succeeded, and they never had that controversy surrounding them, whereas we have mere controversy surrounding a handful of people, and we blackballed them. So why don't we have a greater argument about what guys accomplished in their roles in a certain time period and appreciate all of it? I don't think that's out of the question either. I don't think this is taking shine off what other people have done in completely different eras and time periods. It just is what it is. Paul O'Neill was a certain person in a certain time period that was admired by millions, and that's the value there. That's the intrinsic value, and that's where the Yankees are reacting to how they know the fans feel about this. And I give them credit for doing it, because I didn't think that this wasn't even on my mind. Like you said, not even a consideration. And I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that's probably right. I like that. But yeah, there's so many different ways to argue this. There's so many different angles to come at it. And at the end of the day, it's just appreciate good baseball players for what they contributed, both on and off the field and just as a person. And it'll just be more fun. The world will be more fun, I promise you.
If it's taking shine off the other players, then you're doing that. Like it's
Yes.
not doing anything to Babe Ruth's legacy. You're just mentally doing that because you feel like it. And again, it's a lot of 17-year-old fans of other teams. It's the same generation who makes like endless meme videos out of Nestor Cortez Jr. going 6 innings, 2 earned run July, being like, we'll never get back here. Like, never forget when Aaron Judge hit a walk-off single to beat the White Sox on April 12th. Like, I actually will forget that. And if you grew up with like real moments, then you've already forgotten it. So
Yes.
It's important to remember these legacies. You just, again, you can't get mad at the current team for not living up to old legacies. And then when they're like, let's celebrate old legacies, you're like, fuck this. I love the current team. Okay, what are you talking about? So let's just do, I could talk about Paul O'Neill for 700 more years. Let's just do a couple quick hits because we do have some news items, and hopefully we'll have more for you on a couple of these on Thursday. Let's do the lockout update first, just because we're making genuine progress, it would seem. I don't know. I'm not in the room, and I'm not going to make sweeping generalizations and proclamations. But after we yelled at everybody last week and said you're making unserious offers if you are barely responding, and if you're not inching anything forward from the league side or the player side, and if you're raising pools that you agreed were already too large, and everybody was already mad at everybody for doing that. And basically, as soon as we said that, the two sides announced they were going to meet every day this week to start genuine progress. And Monday's meeting was extremely long. It wasn't quite as long as maybe some of you believed it to be, because about 3 hours of the 5 or so hours they were together were spent in separate rooms with the MLB side and the MLBPA camp in different rooms, going back over things that they had talked about. What we heard on Monday was they didn't make great progress on the CBT threshold, the luxury tax stuff, which is basically this whole thing, but they did make, free agent bonus pool money, and they're putting different money in the pot. But anything that keeps them in the same space, talking seriously amongst themselves and amongst the group as a whole for 5 hours is positive progress. And again, they announced last week that they were going to meet every day in the interest of moving things forward. I don't know. That's no guarantee. They could have shown up on Monday and had a 20-minute conversation and said, we're still too fucking far away. We're not even going to, we said we were going to meet 5 days a week, but we came and saw each other, realized we hate each other, and decided we were not going to do that. Like, you just don't know. So that the whatever 5 hours on Monday did lead into Tuesday pretty directly. Now it's Tuesday. They're meeting again. Are they going to get a deal done today? I doubt it. They're going to get a deal done end of week. I certainly don't know, but it feels like they're making genuine progress. There's a trajectory here that there wasn't last week. And now they're beginning to listen to some people who are saying, we are losing games here. Is anybody okay with this? The owner side, do you hate baseball enough that you're just down to lose games? The player side, are you willing to sacrifice your career after already losing 100 games of your career in 2020? Mike Trout's numbers are never going to look like what they should, because he should have 100 unblemished games on his resume. He already lost 140 hits, right? He's not going to get those back. Does he really want to lose more after rehabbing all of last year? He's hurt. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing lasts forever. Who blinks first? It seems like both sides might have blinked at the exact same time last week.
I hope so. But once again, I don't care.
I don't
care. I don't care until there is a result. Once again, they should have been doing this a month and a half ago. Probably not. If they had any sort of brains or any sort of initiative here and weren't worried about waiting for somebody else to blink or relinquish their position. These talks would have began after New Year's while everybody had a nice little month off, holiday break, spending time with your family, not worrying about the free agency and the trade market rush that happens every December. You could have viewed that as a positive if you're both sides. Hey, look, relaxing off season. We have plenty of guys out there who still need jobs. We can get the talks going right after the new year, and we'll get to it. Now they want to accelerate the talks 7-ish weeks later. It is what it is. It's a bit of a slap in the face to the everyday fan because you've alienated plenty of people at this point. Readership online about stuff just continues to go down. People don't care until there is a result. I am glad that they're meeting more. I am not going to sit here and tweet about it positively because it's something that should have been happening all this time. And just because they're meeting more doesn't mean they'll be making the necessary progress that we need them to. They're still far off on the arbitration bonus pool, even though some progress was made there. They're still very far apart on the luxury tax threshold. So I don't know how, and I don't know many of the other main economical aspects that are affecting this argument. You're talking about TV revenues and splitting that. You're talking about just merchandise. Like, I don't know what else is involved. I don't know what the greater scope is. So there is a lot to talk about. There's a lot for them to sort out and get on the same page with. And both sides need to know where they are willing to kind of give in a little bit. And they need to know, both sides need to know where both sides stand, and in addition to themselves. And that's how this is going to be a more honest negotiation. I'm happy that they're targeting the February 28th deadline that they've set for themselves, but spring training's already delayed. We're still going to see a mad, unnecessary rush for free agent signings and stuff on the trade market. So that's not going to make the game any better. It's going to make it a little bit more hectic. It's going to affect your team, whether you're a Yankees fan, whether you're a Red Sox fan, whether you're a Padres fan. Everybody's going to be adversely affected by this. And this is the owners doing. They decided not to talk to the players for over 40 days after instituting the lockout. And it's still disappointing whether we're having positive updates or not. And there will be no celebration from your boy here until there is a ratified CBA for, I don't even know however long I hope it's a decade, just so we don't have to deal with this shit again, at least. But that's where I stand. Hey, glad more and more meetings are happening. Glad that positivity is at least, seeping into the media, whereas over the last 2.5 months, it was largely negative discourse. So that, I guess, helps your brain if you're on social media all day and seeing these updates.
And we are.
And we'll see what happens. That's it. Literally it.
I love when positive stuff is seeping instead of negative stuff, though. Like seeping, that's usually like toxic waste, sludge, TMZ links. When it's positive seeping, that's usually good. Open sores. I mean, a lot of bad stuff seeps. So it's good when good stuff seeps. Now to the first base battle royale. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't want to talk about this for more than 2 minutes. No. I honestly wish we had a timer on the clock. We have so many podcasts titled Freddie Freeman ? Matt Olson ? I mean, that's what happens during an endless offseason with an extra 75 days of inactivity. We thought the Yankees were close to Olson before the, December 1st deadline. Didn't happen. We thought Freeman was a long shot. Became less of a long shot. Dodgers started getting in the mix. Yankees started getting in line. Yankees leaked they were going to make a run at him. Was it all posturing? Who knows? On Tuesday, rumors are emerging. Buster Olney was the one who dropped it, saying that Freeman is less likely to be a Brave than ever before. That really, the two sides have soured to the point where we are now closer than ever to his departure. And when he says something like that, it does make me think, is that going to be the first domino to drop when this lockout ends and it becomes very obvious that different parties were talking all along, breaking the rules? Is Freeman going to be like a day one move? I don't know. And accompanying that Freeman rumor saying he's more done than ever with the Braves in the wake of, by the way, Chipper Jones saying they're disrespecting him, and Brian Snitker saying, I don't know if I'm going to have him or not. We haven't talked. I don't know what the hell's going on. He's a great player. Hope we don't lose him. You're also getting Matt Olson. We've obviously talked about Olson and the Braves because if they lose Freeman, They don't want to just fail. They will surrender their prospects. They will trade Christian Pache and some other dudes for 2 years of Matt Olson. Might be a better player than Freeman at this point, but he costs a lot of prospects. He's not an icon. He's a Georgia boy, but he's not an icon. We're also all of a sudden hearing the Padres and Matt Olson. So commensurate with the Freeman stuff saying he's further than ever away from Atlanta, we're now getting an increase in Olson stuff. These guys are going to be connected all offseason long when the offseason begins. And that really does make me wonder, though, how long is that going to last? How long is the pairing going to last? Can the Yankees wedge their way back in here? If they were so close on Olson before, they're really going to give him up to the Padres, who last offseason proved that they're one of like 3 teams that cares. So if the Yankees want to be involved and prove they're like one of 4 teams that care, they're probably going to get involved on Matt Olson or Freeman. I love spending money, so I could get behind Freeman. I don't want to give up prospects if I don't have to, especially if the A's are going to be thirsty. But it does make me wonder, how long are these guys going to be paired? Or is it just going to be curtain up on the offseason and then Freeman's gone like 6 hours later?
Yeah. Nice. 2 minutes and 12 seconds.
Oh, great. Well, that's all I have to say until next time. Yeah.
I'll add 45 seconds here. A lot of things, a lot of moving parts here that we have to consider. Will the Yankees pay that money for Freeman? 30 million AAV, could potentially be more. We know the Yankees historically to enter free agency bids later in the game because agents love to jack up the price if they're in it earlier, and then that screws the Yankees over. You talk about Olson. Padres are entering the talks now. Padres have a very good farm system. A's are going to look to leverage their power as best they can. Braves have a very good farm system too, and some players that are at the MLB level that can be controllable for 5-6 years that might interest them in a faster retool. So, and the Dodgers are very much interested here. If you didn't see Justin Turner's tweet about Freddie Freeman potentially joining the team, the players are on board here. They are commenting on what's going on. So I don't know. Both of these scenarios seem, it's possible that the Yankees could get outbid, or they just don't want to pay the price that they're looking at. And that's going to be somewhat understandable because this is what we kind of have to live with. This is what the organization does. This is who they are. So now start looking up Eric Hosmer, man, and start researching his deal. He's under contract for 4 more years. The Padres are willing to eat some money on that contract. And they're willing to include between a top 3 or top 5 prospect in any deal for Hosmer. So if the Yankees you want to talk about best of both worlds here, they're going to have Hosmer get money eaten off his contract. He has a $21 million hit next year and then $13 million hits through 2025. And they're going to get a top prospect in return, and they're not going to have to surrender much at all for him. That you can see them reasoning and being like, okay, we still get a lefty bat. He's still a good glove. He still hits. He can hit for power. His metrics last year were promising, even though he got robbed and didn't have that good of a season. And he's healthy all the time. He's missed like 48 games since 2015 or something crazy like that. So get ready for it. It's going to be a possibility. And if you can get a top 3 prospect there and flip that over for something else and not have to take anything from your farm system, Brian Cashman's going to value that. So if the Padres are actually looking at Olson and they need to clear a first base spot, I'm not ruling us out. I think it could be smart. It's probably 3rd on the list or 4th on the list of first base options for me. But if you're looking at a best of both worlds situations where you're getting better at first base and you're mitigating the risk, I think that's it.
I'm always looking at a best of both worlds situation. What other kind of situation do you want to live in? A worst of both, a best of actually one world? Yeah, best of one world is okay, but I'm looking for both, baby. I mean, come on. I don't want to end a podcast that started with Paul O'Neill discussion and honorifics in this way, but we can briefly talk about Aaron Judge, who I don't think people gave that interview. People both overreacted and underreacted to that interview.
Yes.
It was very weird. You had people being like, Judge says he's done with the Yankees. And not surprisingly, every rival fan was like, how do you feel about Aaron Judge saying he's basically done with the Yankees? Like, he did not say that. You wanted him to say that very badly. And so you're sending us links that make it imply that he said that. But
yeah,
he did say, I would love to get an extension done by spring training. I would love to be the captain. If I'm not the captain, that's okay. And if I don't get that deal done by opening day, like, I don't know, it might be the end for me. I'll look around. It's been nice. I have a lot of happy memories. Is he saying he's done? No, but could he have been done? He might be done. He might look elsewhere. Somebody else might overpay him. And again, that's where the underreacting comes in. I think a lot of Yankee fans, Aaron Judge was like, I might go somewhere else after the season. And Yankee fans were just like, cool. Off-season talk. It's like, that's a little more explicit than just off-season talk. Like, overrated. Rivals went crazy, but like underrated in the Yankees community. I think we need to talk more about Aaron Judge doing an interview where he talks about leaving the Yankees. And so we did come up with a few destinations for Judge. I think these are the ones to look out for if you're worried about him departing, just to prepare everybody and also to say that we had it first. Everybody's got the San Francisco Giants, so we're not alone there. He's a Bay Area native. He's not going to the Oakland A's. It's that simple. Like, there are two teams in the Bay Area. I don't care if he grew up an A's fan. They're not signing him. They're deferring his contract to 2059. The A's are getting laughed out of the room. And if the A's want to sign him, you know what? Great.
Cool.
I would be happy for them if they did. They won't. So we don't need to think about it. And the other two that feel relevant beyond the Giants, the Seattle Mariners, who frankly are my number one destination because they've proven they're willing to spend. They are close to contention, really, like genuine contention. They have not made the playoffs since 2001. Since their record-setting win season, they have not made the Major League Baseball playoffs, which are getting easier and easier to make. They are laying out the red carpet for wildcard teams. They're adding a playoff team in the new CBA, probably. Or I don't know what I'm crossing my fingers for, but probably they're adding a new playoff team. There's going to be like a choose your own adventure wildcard round where you pick your opponent and stuff, and it's all home games. I don't know why owners want to lose playoff revenue, by the way, considering it's like all home games. So if you finish 5th, 6th, or 7th, you're going to lose all those gate checks. That should theoretically wake up some owners. I hope that's the lesson they take, that maybe edging into the playoffs isn't what you want. You actually want to dominate so you can get those home playoff games and get that money. But the Mariners have not been to the playoffs in any form in an eternity, and Mitch Haniger is expiring. They have an opportunity to very clearly just go blip and just flip Aaron Judge in there, who Mitch Haniger, all due respect, Aaron Judge is a top 15 player in all of baseball, maybe top 10 at his peak. And then the Cubs, you also posited because it seems like they're ready to do something crazy. If they're in Carlos Correa and they've set themselves up with all these cheap contracts and teenagers and prospects coming of age, why wouldn't they want to return to relevance next offseason with Aaron Judge? I don't see that one quite as much as I see the Mariners, which again is the most natural fit, and the Giants, which is a sentimental fit. But any of the three do seem very possible to me.
Yeah, I like their payroll situations too. For most of these teams, the Giants have spent very little this offseason, and a lot of the rumors surrounding them, they're not going after big guys. I think the most connectivity they've had to anybody is Seiya Suzuki, $50-60 million contract. Giants are not in on they weren't in on anyone really big prior to the lockout. They let Kevin Gossman go. They made additions with like Alex Cobb, Alex Wood, and Anthony DeSclafani. They brought back two of those guys and just made the pitching staff a little bit deeper instead of going after the star names. So I think they're waiting for something bigger. Whether it's Judge or not, they will be positioned next offseason to do something significant. Cubs, same type deal. Jason Hayward, they're talking about de-emphasizing his role. I know he signed through 2023, but if he's your fourth outfielder and is a defensive stalwart and can still hit from the left side of the plate and be somewhat, it's looking at like it's similar to an Aaron Hicks situation with us. It's like, is he a starter? I don't know. He can't really stay healthy. And when he is healthy, he's like up and down. So we're not sure. Yeah, great. We'll just pay him a bunch of money. He'll be the fourth outfielder and he could fill a multitude of spots. And they need a star. They need a bona fide star player, I think. And I Judge with the universal DH too. If you want to take Judge off his feet, if that's going to be a thing, I think it's even more valuable for NL teams. And Mariners, same type deal. They signed Robbie Ray before the lockout. They traded for Adam Frazier. They're gearing up for something. They got some guys coming off the books after this year that's going to save them some money. And you know that they have the capability to spend when they want to. And if this is a move they want to make, I think they're totally capable of making it. I don't want to see Aaron Judge go to any of these teams, but I think if he hits the open market, teams, I think these three teams are the three to look out for because of their situations, because of what they need to accomplish, or because of what they were expected to accomplish and didn't. The Giants underwhelmed after the 107 win season. They're kind of out for revenge, I guess, if you could say that.
Oh, out for revenge. I thought you were saying out. I was like, out? They're done? No, they are out for revenge. Yeah.
You got the Mariners, who haven't been there in forever, and they need an impact move to do so. And then you got the Cubs, who kind of, one could say, disappointed. You thought that core was going to take home at least one more World Series, and then they were outs after that. They didn't even make it back. So they got Marcus Stroman for 2 years. They got Kyle Hendricks for, I think, another 2 or 3 years. So the top end of the rotation stuff is there. You got some younger guys. This is the move you make. I mean, Jed Hoyer was working under Theo Epstein for quite a while. I think he knows what the blueprint is to be successful. You get all the guys up that you need to get up. Manage the service time as best you can without being scummy. Hopefully we're not being scummy after this next CBA. And then you bring in the big guns. You bring in Aaron Judge for 6 years with an insane salary, and that's what you do. And that's the blueprint a lot more teams should be taking. With or without the necessary spending power, all these teams are worth over $1 billion. You can afford a $300 million contract, dude. It's totally possible. So yeah, I think those, and because of, I think the Cubs, all these teams have they're well recognized throughout Major League Baseball, getting on the map even more with a player such as Aaron Judge, I was listening to something the other day. I forgot who it was, but they're like, who do you think of when you think of baseball players? And like Aaron Judge is like top 3 in there just because he's a giant man and because he wears a Yankees jersey. And I know the Yankees advertising does that a lot, but like if Aaron Judge is a giant man and is a former Yankee, like he's still going to be an icon wherever he goes next to he's not going to disappear off the face of the earth. He's a larger than life type player. Obviously, unless his injury troubles persist or his bad luck with injuries persist, that'll be a different story. But Aaron Judge is well recognized by younger fans in this game and everyday fans in this game. So the impact he has for marketing and for selling tickets is even greater for these types of teams too, who need to bring in the more and more money to supplement the amount that they're spending for these contracts. So that's another thing to think about that I didn't really keep in the back of my mind. Like if the Yankees lose Aaron Judge, they're losing a lot of ticket sales. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, and this is no slander to any other Yankee on the roster, but Yankee fans are not coming to watch Giancarlo Stanton. A lot of Yankee fans do not like Giancarlo Stanton. Yankee fans are not coming to watch this pitching staff because it had one good year. The pitching staff has not been good for a long time. A lot of these other players who regress, the fans are not too happy with them. Fans go to the ballpark for Aaron Judge, and that's kind of the end of the story. So that's another aspect of the whole conversation that people might be forgetting. I don't think he's leaving. I don't think they're dumb enough to lose the ticket sales and all the merch that they're selling for him and all the adjacent advertising opportunities that exist. But hey, I guess anything's possible.
Yeah, they built him a section. You want to tear down a section that you built? Yeah, I don't think the marketability, again, some of it's Yankees related. I don't think it's all diehard fans of Jersey Mike subs. I don't think that's why Aaron Judge is one of the most popular players in baseball. But yeah, you're right. Wherever he goes, if he goes somewhere else, he will be former Yankee Aaron Judge. You will remember him because of his stature, his physique. He will be a massive star in this game until he turns 36, 37. I don't know when it winds down. I don't know when it ends. And a universal DH could be a huge help. It's possible Judge has one more big deal left with the Yankees, turns, a 6-year deal or something like that. And at the end of that, he wants to be a perma DH. They don't want it. And he goes to the National League and finishes his career. And it's weird. I just think you're going to want to extend this relationship with Aaron Judge a little while longer. And you have enough money to dam the torpedoes a little bit and say his production goes down in 4 years. It shouldn't hinder you. It really shouldn't. It should hinder you because you would be losing a top 15 baseball player. His talent would be decreasing. That's not good, but it shouldn't hamstring your payroll. You should be able to get this done, especially the way Giancarlo Stanton's deal looks like a bargain now. A Judge extension is going to kind of look like a bargain for like year 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. It gets a little weird, but there will be a point when you look up and go, he's making $22 million a year and we're paying Robbie Ray $30 million a year in Seattle. Like, what's going on? So trust us. But again, we understand all sides of it. We don't want to talk about Judge destinations any more than you do. Should have probably put the timer on for 2 minutes here. We're going to be talking about this a lot. Again, Yankee fans, you're underselling this one a little bit. You maybe don't want to be thinking about it, but I don't think you guys thought long and hard about this Judge conversation last week. And so we're probably going to be talking about this more as the year goes on. We'll cut ourselves off now, but this will not be the last Judge contract chatter you hear. That is it for this edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. We talked about the current right fielder and the greatest modern Yankees right fielder, and we love it, and we hope Judge gets there someday. Hey, let's retire 99. That's an easy one. Nobody wants 99, so let's just extend Judge until we can retire his extremely cool number. When we retire like 53, that's when it's going to get weird. It's like, that's not a good looking number. It's Bobby Abreu we're retiring. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag question. We'll be more than happy to answer it. Drop us a line on Twitter. Find us live on YouTube and on Twit, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Like I said, Mondays and Thursdays, typically it was Tuesday and Thursday this week during the regular season. Again, we're going to be experimenting. We're going to go live after games, during games, interesting times, whenever the two of us are available and we think it makes the most sense to have an honest conversation and open the airwaves to commenters, viewers like you. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weiner because it is my given name. I got the handle in 2008. Weird kid in my freshman hall who ended up being very nice. Said you guys should all join Twitter. I said I have no idea what that is, and I don't care. Why is it different than a Facebook status? It barely is, honestly, but it's a very popular company even to this date. But that's where you can find me. It's my full name. I probably could have snagged like at Adam W or something, but honestly, that also looks weird. So I'm glad I have this. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
Ooh, at Tommy's_takes. You can find us on yanksgoyard.com. All the written content is there. We're having a great time. You can talk to us on the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account as well, at Yanks Go Yard FS. I asked you guys for fucking questions today, and nobody said anything.
No.
There's 4,000 followers. What is anyone doing? Don't you want your questions answered on a very niche podcast about the New York Yankees? Figure it out, dude. You're on social media every day, and you're not going to trick me and tell me that you're not, because I know you are, because this is all anybody's doing.
Don't trick us.
Yeah, don't. One more thing about Paul O'Neill that I forgot to mention. We'll end on a good note here. Ilias Sports Bureau excited me today. I love these stats. Call them irrelevant. Call them, kind of what's the term that we use? Nitpicking or fucking stat cutting, like whatever it is to make your narrative more of a supported argument. But anyway, O'Neill played 9 seasons for the Yankees. 1993 to 2001. Over that span, he ranked first on the team in RBIs with 858 and doubles 304, and was second in hits 1,426, home runs 185, extra base hits 503, and runs 720. 4 championships. So don't tell me he was the 6th or 7th or 8th best guy on that Yankees team throughout the dynasty. He was very much an integral figure who was arguably the best offensive player as well. So there it is. I think that's a good closing argument for what we talked about today. And just enough with the disrespect. Just be happy for people who did good things and are being rewarded for good things. That's your positivity for today, folks.
Took me cherry picking is the word. It took me a very long time to get there too. I was like, I didn't have it when you were struggling, and then I finally found it. I was like, oh, fuck. He's already like all the way along, but no cherry picking there. But basically, the best of the best. Put O'Neill in Monument Park. Give Whitey and Yogi their monuments, and put Bernie Williams in the Hall of Fame, the real one, the Cooperstown one. If Tony Oliva could go in, love that guy. Bernie Williams can go in too. Jim Cott can go in. David Cohn can go in. We'll see you on Thursday with more spicy takes, and maybe the lockout will be finished, or maybe I'll have my head stuck in a construction cone. I don't know. One of the two. See you on Thursday.